Hello, I'm Alan McMonagle, and I'm going to read an excerpt from my novel Ithaca. This was the summer after all the money disappeared. One minute it was here, the next it had vanished, all of it, without trace. Annie the scryer had predicted it happening ages ago, but nobody had listened to her. Now they were all interested in what she had to say. Couldn't wait to hear about the next disaster in store for us. A hurricane, flood waters, famine, it didn't matter. Now that all the money had vanished, everyone had their eyes and ears ready for all manner of doom. Don't ask me why. Take a walk through the streets of our town and you would have seen all the disaster you wanted. Boarded up windows, women crying into empty handbags, the slug Doyle's protesting fist. There was a huge crack in the road going across Violin Bridge. Any minute now the unfinished shopping centre looked as though it was going to topple over. March into the bank and say, "Stick 'em up, this is a robbery," and you wouldn't be long finding out where things stood. Go ahead, help yourself, they'd tell you, handing over the keys to the vaults. You won't find a bean in here. I didn't care about any of that. After the latest high drama with Ma, I reckoned it was about time I took a good look for my da. I had a feeling it might be Fluky Nolan. We both had thin arms, shoulders not worth talking about, moles, rosy cheeks and itty-bitty curls. Like me, Fluky had a habit of wandering about the place on his own. He was fond of the swamp, and though I hadn't seen him in a while, he used to be around the house all the time. He and Ma were not shy together. The more I thought about it, the more certain I became. If I had money and Patsy Fagan was taking bets on who is my da, I would have walked into his betting shop and put it all on Fluky Nolan. I couldn't wait to bump into him in the back lane and inform him of my discovery. Let him know that from here on we would be living under the same roof, doing stuff together, thinking up schemes. My first mistake was telling Ma. She had a good laugh for herself when I put it to her. If the sucked-in cheeks and rippling forehead lines were anything to go by, it was clear I couldn't have come out with a more ridiculous proposition. "Tell me something, Jason. What age are you now?" she asked me when she took some time out from her laughing. "Nearly 12, I said. "Nearly 12. That's great," she said, now shaking her head as though she didn't believe me. 12 years old and he wants to know who his da is. "I know who it is," I said. "It's Fluky Nolan." That set her off laughing again. Practically bent over in two she was, and the choking sounds out of her. Thought I might have to slap her hard on the back when she lost her breath. Fluky is many things she managed to say when at last she calmed down. But one thing he's not is your da. "Are you sure about that?" I said, giving her my narrow eyes, by now thinking that all the laughing and face-making had to be a decoy. That if I kept at her, she might let slip something, provide a clue she couldn't take back. She didn't, though. She hadn't another word to say on the matter. And when I did keep at her, the laughter wasn't long running out, and she threw her arms into the air, warned me a fair amount of distance out of her way. Our town was slap bang in the middle of the country, miles from anywhere, and built inside a hole made out of bog, weeds, mulch, and the soggiest soil you might ever see. If that wasn't bad enough, we were surrounded by a dirty black drain that spent its time fooling everyone into thinking it was a river. There were two sides to our town. The rich side on the hill beyond the railway tracks, and the side we lived on. The ghetto, Ma called it. I went walking down the back lane. Of all the places in the ghetto, the back lane was the place to hang out. Anybody who was anybody on our road wanted to be seen out here, taking a stroll through the muck, hanging out by the ditch trees, making conversation about the swamp and the wasteland beyond. It was a good place to find fluky wandering. Along came Harry Brewster and Fergal Flood. Harry's ears didn't work very well, and Fergal had only one good eye, so they went around together. Harry described what he saw. "Ah, would you look, Fergal, Bliss Flynn has gone and cut her hair." Fergal listened to all the gossip. "Get a load of this, Harry. The slug Doyle says if they come knocking on his door one more time, he's going for his axe." It wasn't a bad system. On a good day, the pair of them were convinced they could run the entire country. But that usually kept until they were downtown, perched on their stools, deep into their fifth or sixth stout, inside McMonagle's dimly lit pub. Along came Patrick Fox, squeezing out through his broken-down back gate, along with Rommel and Himmler, his mongrel dogs. "Hello, Jason Lowry," he said as we passed each other. "Have you yet met anybody better than yourself?" "I have in my arse," I told him without breaking stride. "Do you hear that, Rommel and Himmler?" Patrick said after me, shaking his head at his mongrels as though it was the saddest thing he had ever heard. "Young Jason has yet to meet someone better than himself." Along came Lily Brennan, arrived all the way from Threepenny Terrace. Lily fancied herself as the star nose around here. Reckoned she knew what was going on before the sun came up and shined a light. Old Tom Redahan has started talking to the trees. That Joyce girl's mother ran away with her father's best friend. Fat Grehan is after getting married to the nanny. There was no doubt in her voice. She had the fast track on everyone. Along she came, the barrel shape on her waddling down the lane, at long last nearing the end of her daily nose-about, a task that involved getting up at the crack of dawn and asking lots of questions she already knew the answers to. "Look at you," she said to me every time we bumped into each other. "You look just like your mother." "That old wheeze-bag," I'd hear the slug Doyle say. "Reckons she can hear the things people are thinking about." Today I was tempted to ask her what was Da thinking about. Then I thought, don't get into any of that with an old wheeze-bag.